let's take a look at a new GMRS HT release from Radioddity. If you like the form factor of the venerable UV5R, but are attracted to radios with additional receive bands, you'll want to stay tuned. Radioddity recently released a new version of the UV5G GMRS handy-talkie. It's called the UV5G Pro. Let's take a look at what makes the Pro version Pro. As we get started, thanks for watching this Gadget Talk video. On this channel, we do reviews and how-tos on a variety of mostly radio-related gadgets that catch my eye. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get started. As is sometimes the case here, I sometimes receive products to review from the sellers. That's the case here too. Radioddity doesn't control what I say, or do they see the video before I post it. I sometimes ask for clarification if I don't understand something, but that's pretty much the extent of my contact with them when reviewing their offerings. The UV5G Pro is the third version in the UV5G series. The first is the UV5G, or sometimes seen as the UV5X. The UV5G Plus was released late in 2023, and now there's the UV5G Pro. The UV5G and UV5G Pro share the same small UV5R form factor, while the UV5G Plus is a larger radio with a large color screen. While sharing the UV5G name, it's essentially a different radio. The primary difference between the UV5G and the UV5G Pro are several additional receive bands. The UV5G Pro will receive broadcast FM, AM airband, 136 to 174 megahertz, or the VHF band, 220 to 260 megahertz, or the ham 1.25 meter band, 350 to 390 megahertz, and 400 to 520 megahertz, or the UHF band. GMRS channels in the 462 to 467 megahertz band, and the radio obviously transmits on those channels. NOAA weather channels are in the VHF band, and they come pre-programmed in the upper end of the 128 available memory channels. Radioddity sells the UV5G Pro as a single radio for just under $35, or a two-radio kit with some extra accessories for about $70. I'll have some affiliate links in the description below. Let's take a look at what you'll get in the two-radio kit. So this is the box for the two-pack for the UV5G Pro. By way of overview, there's going to be doubles of everything I'm about to show you, except for the programming cable. There's one of those and one owner's manual. So let's take a look at what you'll find inside. So here are those two single items. We got the programming here, BaoFeng branded programming cable, the USB-A side here with the chip in it, and then the K1 connector over here that fits in the side of the radio, and then the owner's manual. And this owner's manual is a little bit more robust than some of the BaoFeng owner's manuals that you see. There's quite a lot of information in here, and certainly enough to get you started with this radio. For me, the important part is always the explanations of the menus here in the back. That'll give you an idea of what number each function has within the menu system. And as I look at it, there are 40 menu items for this radio. Each radio comes with an antenna. This is the short, stubby, fairly hard rubber ducky, a wrist lanyard to keep it attached to you. It goes on a little loop on the back of the radio, and then the belt clip. And then the screws for the belt clip are mounted in the radio, so the belt clip isn't in a plastic bag or anything like that. Since this is a UV5 series radio, it does not come with USB-C charging, but it comes with this nice cradle. It's a CH5 cradle. And it has, this one has American plugs in it, and you just drop the battery in, or the radio and the battery together into the charger. There's a little LED here that'll give you the charge indication, whether it's charging or uncharged or turns green when it's fully charged. So that's the charger. Now here's the radio itself, and it's a fairly small radio, as all of the UV5s are. There's the VFO, AB, band switch here on the front, menu and exit up and down to go through the menus or go through the channels. You can enter menus directly with the keypad as well as channels directly with the keypad. The VFO and memory switch you between VFO mode and memory mode in the radio, and then AB, if you've got dual receive on, will switch you from the upper to the lower register. So that's the front of the radio. We've got a speaker here and a microphone right there. On this side of the radio, we've got a couple of buttons, the push to talk in the middle, you've got the call button on the top, and then the monitor button on the bottom, and we'll look at what those do when we turn the power on. Here's the back of the radio. Here are the charge tabs for that cradle charger I just showed you. The battery mounts easily to the back of the radio, and then here are the screws for the attachment of the belt clip. On this side, we've got the flap for the K1 connector. On the top of the radio, we've got the on-off button and the volume right here. We've got a flashlight, and then we've got the plug or male side of an SMA connector that the antennas connect to. And then the last thing we'll show is the second antenna that comes in this kit. So we've got the short rubber ducky antenna, and then we've got like a 15-inch antenna. That should give you a little bit better range if you have the circumstances where this big thing won't get in the way. And so there's a trade-off, convenience of something short, a little bit more range with something long. But one of the values here of this 2-pack is that they come with these extra long antennas. Again, the extras in the 2 radio kit are the programming cable and the 2 long antennas. Here's a quick power on tour. I'll tune some of the added bands to show you that the radio will accept those frequencies. So in this display, you can see that I've got the channel and the name, which I've got set up here in the choices within the menu system in the radio. The VFO or the MR switch will switch you back and forth between frequency and channel mode. AB, if you notice this little caret, will move you down to the lower register. That will activate the PTT for that register versus up there for the upper register. And then menu. So press the menu. You can get to the menus directly by pressing the number. So this, in this case, it's VOX, or you can just work your way through by using the up and down buttons. To activate a menu item, you press menu. You move the little caret down to the lower level, and then you can use the buttons to change the number you see change there. Press menu again. It says confirm, and then you can go to the next menu or you can exit. So that's all pretty easily done. So that's our menu system here. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out to you was programming, and I'll mention it in the clip for the CPS, and that is to program a channel in. You have to do the initial programming now until they get that CPS fixed. And so to do that, you would go into VFO, and let's say that we wanted to use channel 462-6500, which is a GMRS channel. And so that's fine. Then we would go into menu, and then we would go up in our menus. See that it was in wide. We see that we have a receive CTCSS of 123. The repeater I'm programming has that. Transmit DCS is 123. Again, that's the repeater I'm programming. You go up a couple more menu items, and you get to the shift deviation, and you see it's plus. If I wanted to make a change, I don't, but you just do that. Hit menu, it goes down there, and you can make a change from off to negative to off. Okay, I'm going to leave it as a positive. I'll press menu again, and then I'm going to go up and again, and then the offset again. Since I've been programming, it remembers what I last used, and so I've got a 5 megahertz positive offset. And so in memory channel, I want to put it in channel 33, so I can press menu. Memory channel. I go 0, 3, 3, and then menu again. It'll say confirm. Receiving memory. And so the receiving memory's been laid in to channel 33, and now I'm done. So programming a repeater do-it-yourself channel is really pretty easy. There's like 5 menu items that you have to do, and to the extent that things like offset and the offset amount the radio remembers, there's really only about 3 or 4 settings you have to deal with when programming. Now, when I put this into the CPS, it'll load, it'll show the transmit and the receive frequency, and I can enter a name in the CPS. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that the frequencies are wide open here in this radio, whereas this one wasn't allowable. So I'll just kind of point that out to you. We'll go into frequency mode here on both of these radios. And here I'm going to set in a frequency in the air band, in the lower 100 VHF band. So let's go like 118.3. Okay, and you can see the radio accepted it. We'll try that same frequency here.
118.3.0, cancel.
And it says cancel because the radio is not released to receive in that area. Same thing up here in the 220 ham band. We'll go up to 220. So now I'm receiving in the 220 ham band, where this radio, the UV5G or the UV5X.
222.0, cancel.
And so this radio doesn't cover those frequency bands, and that's how you're going to tell. And let's just finish up some of the power on stuff here with this radio by talking about these buttons. So the upper button is the call button. You press it, it goes into FM mode. Press it again, it goes out. A long press turns on the alarm. Another press turns the alarm off. So that's the call button. Down here, the monitor button will turn on the flashlight. Another press flashes. Another press turns it off. And then a long press will break the squelch. That, I think, covers the UV5G in its power on state pretty well. One of the differences between the UV5G and the UV5G Pro is power output. As you'll see in this clip, the UV5G Pro outputs right at 3 watts, which is typical for budget-priced radios. The UV5G's output was about 1.9 to 2 watts when I tested it, so about 1 watt less. So let's take a look at the power output of the UV5G Pro. I'm going into my MFJ874. We're expecting 5 watts or less, so I've got it on the 5 watt setting, and we'll be reading this on the lower arc. So on GMRS channel 1, high power, it's about 3 watts, 2.9 watts. Let's go up into the higher power GMRS channels. We'll go up to channel 15.
0, 1, 5.
Again, 2.9, 3 watts. Now let's go up into the repeater channels.
0, 2, 3.
That's repeater 1 on channel 23. And that's a little bit lower at about 2.5 watts. So that's the power output that you can expect from your UV5G Pro. Here's an audio sample. I'm using both radios in the kit, so you're hearing both the receive and transmit quality in the same clip.
Test, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Radio check on the UV5G Pro. Test, test, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test out.
25 left. Information Bravo. Right, clear, touch to go. Fast, fast.
Sorry, we're detecting no frequency change.
Angel, frequency, over there.
Okay, thanks for help.
45, thank you, number 4. On the 25 right, clear, touch and go.
Mr. Rose, 25 right, clear, touch and go, aviation. Wind 310 temperature 38, 2.11, altimeter 2991. Visual approach from you, finding a departing runway 25 left and 25 right. Luke, special air traffic will in effect. VFR aircraft device ground control direction of flight.
Since this is a new release, programming the radio is currently limited to the BaoFeng CPS or using the radio's faceplate. BaoFeng has been pretty aggressive about getting new releases into Chirp, but as I record this, that hasn't happened yet. Be sure to check both the BaoFeng listing and the Radiodity listing as you keep an eye out in Chirp. Here's a quick overview of the BaoFeng CPS. be sure to watch as I point out a shortcoming and the solution when programming do-it-yourself channels. So here's a quick snapshot of the UV5G Pro CPS from BaoFeng. You notice that in the top it's got the typical drop-down menus, File, Save, Open, New, Edit. This gives you the chance to choose the primary window. So I've got the channel information open. Optional features is another one, so let me just put that here so you can see that. And then in the program we can read from the radio right to the radio. Here it's important to set the COM port that your programming cable shows up with in the device manager. For me, it's COM3. You can see I've got it set to COM3 there, and it's showing COM3 down in the bottom. And then help, just as a help about. This is what I have loaded in the radio now. So I have done some programming on this. So first we've come in here and we've got the band and the frequencies for all the GMRS channels. Here it's got the names, and those were all pre-programmed in to include repeater 1 through repeater 8. And then I've added 2 channels here using the programming in the radio that I've described to you already. So you can see it can be done. It's not that hard. You just program it into the radio, and then when you upload it to the CPS, then you can add the name over here. So it's a little clunky, but it's certainly doable. One of the things I've also mentioned is that you really can't add a DIY channel here, and let me demonstrate to you. So if we wanted to add 462.650, we can add that in there just fine. When we click out of it, it gives us the band. It gives us a chance to add CTCSS. Gives us a chance to put a name in here, but what it doesn't do is allow us to put in a transmit frequency. And so that's why you have to enter any channel that you're going to add to the radio that you want to transmit on. In other words, a GMRS channel. You've got to do that in the radio to get this to fill in. Now, for all those receive only, it doesn't matter. You could put in air bands, you could put in marine bands, all those other things go in just fine. Just type it in. That'll be much easier when this gets into chirp, but it's not there yet, and so this is what we have to deal with. And so over here then we have many of the variables that are in the radio. So we've got timeout timer, the Vox is off, squelch is 3, the display, I like to put the channel and the name in. Here are some DTMF commands. I don't use those, so I've got them set to off. Here we've got the colors assigned to the screen. I've got the FM radio enabled. I've got the alarm, so it only makes noise on the radio. It doesn't send out a signal. The Roger beep is off, and then I've got TDR check, so it comes up in the transmitter dual display. When we've made the changes we want, we simply go up here to save and save it in a file on your computer with the name that you recognize, and then write it to the radio. And so you would click write, and then you'd get a dialog box that says to start, and you get a progress screen. And I'm not going to do that here, but this is the snapshot to the CPS. It works reasonably well with this little problem here of not being able to put transmit frequencies in, even if they are GMRS frequency. So, what's my verdict on the UV5G Pro? First, UV5G Pro is a budget class radio, so you have to manage your expectations. That being said, it has a very good feature set. Being based on the UV5R, it's limited to 128 channels instead of the up to 999 channels found on some other radios. Whether that's a big deal or not is basically up to you. For me, I seldom have more than about 50 channels programmed to any of my radios anyway. Next, having the UV5R's form factor, all the accessories of the UV5R will work with the UV5G Pro. These include speaker mics, wired earbuds, other secret agent earpieces, battery extenders, and battery eliminators. I'll put a link in the description on the end card to this video to my video on HT accessories. The extra receive bands allow those exploring the prepper world a chance to give expanded receive bands a try while not spending more for an advanced prepper-friendly radio. That being said, however, even experienced preppers, whether urban or off-grid, will find these little guys great for tossing in a backpack or keeping in an emergency go bag. As you heard in the airband clip, these little budget-class HTs don't demodulate AM signals nearly as well as FM signals. I've got several small HTs with airband receive capability, and they all sound pretty much the same as this UV5G Pro. They're readable, but not great. A shortcoming is the CPS glitch and the fact that it's not on the chirp-supported radio list yet. So too is the UV5G's inherent 128-channel memory limit. Neither are a big deal for most users, but there's something to be aware of. All in all, the UV5G Pro is a solid, budget-class GMRS radio. The dual pack with the extra accessories, including the long antennas, make this a good value for the new GMRS operator or the experienced operator who needs some inexpensive hand-around radios for the kids or when out camping or off-roading. Again, I hope you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Join me over here where we can take a look at handy-talkie accessories you'll want to consider for your new HT, as well as my GMRS radio playlist. Thanks for watching.